Thank you for joining me on the Vandermount podcast, where we are here to help you make money doing what you love while serving other people and helping you grow your business. My name is Isaac Cano. I am the founder here at Vandermount, and today we're going to talk about how to clarify your offering better. The more you can explain the benefits of what your offering does, why it matters to your customers, the less confused your customers are going to feel, and the more empowered they're going to be to purchase either your product or your services. So today, we're going to focus on a couple of ideas that will help you clarify your offering even more. We're going to answer this, what I call the functionality question. And the functionality question goes like this. It asks, how does your product or service work exactly? What does your offering do exactly? Now, we're asking this question because Tony Robbins has talked a lot about the power of asking quality questions. Because when you ask a poor question, guess what? You're going to get poor results. But when you ask powerful questions, you're going to get powerful results. You're going to get powerful answers. So to clarify your product or your service so that your customers understand what it is that you do, we're going to ask what I call the functionality question, which is this: how does your product or service work exactly? Now, one of the best ways to answer this is by starting with the customer's problem. What kind of problem are they struggling with that you're solving for them? Start with the need that they maybe have. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's just a need or desire that they have in their life. Maybe they're trying to improve a particular situation. Maybe they want a bigger house. Maybe they want an upgraded car. What kind of questions are your customers asking? Think through some of the questions that have come up when you're talking to a prospect, when you've talked to a client in the past, or even look at the questions that you see coming up among your competitors. So you're going to start there and then think about how you solve that customer's problem. Think about how you met that customer's need. Think through how you answered your customer's question. So begin there. That's the first part to this exercise. And if you need a little help understanding what that could look like, let's take a look at some examples here. So, for instance, let's look at a landscaping company. Let's say that let's say the need that their landscaping customers have is that they really want a personal retreat in their backyard. A place where they can rest and have peace of mind and relax. Okay, that's the problem. That's the need that they have, right? So if you're a landscaping company, how are you going to solve that problem for them? Well, you're going to solve that by going to their house, and you're going to help them create a beautiful landscape yard where they feel like they're in their own personal resort. You're going to help them design a beautiful new landscape that they can be proud of, that they can find peace of mind. And that's exactly what you offer to solve that problem, right? Now let's look at another example. Let's look at realtors, okay? The people that realtors work with are often people who want, their own home, or maybe they're selling their home, but, let's say they want to buy their own home where they can grow a family, make memories, have a strong financial investment for their future, maybe have a place where they can retire later on. So a realtor, when they look at that need that their clients have, their job is to help them achieve that goal by making the home buying process easy and by finding a house that they're going to love and can afford within their budget. Okay, that's what the solution looks like for that. Let's do one more example of solving your customer's problem. So let's look at an accountant. Okay, the customers that an accountant probably works with the most might be business owners who stress out, over paying taxes and keeping their finances organized. So what does an accountant do to help solve that problem? An accountant might help them stay in control of their bookkeeping process and make sure they won't get in trouble with the IRS, right? Which is going to give them much more peace of mind and reduce their amount of stress. So that's the solution that an accountant is going to bring to their customers' problems. So go through the questions and the needs and the problems that your customer has and start to work backward and think through what it is that you do to solve that problem for them, to answer that question, to meet that need. And once you have an idea of how you solve that problem for them, we're going to add one more exercise to this process of clarifying the functionality of your product or service. Okay, so next I would add this phrase. So you've got your solution. Okay, right under the solution, if you're writing it on paper or typing it out in a document, right under the solution, you're going to put in parentheses, here are 3 steps on how I make that happen, ... And you're going to add that to the solution that you provide for your customers. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want to break down your solution into an easier to understand process that makes sense to your customer even more. Because the more clearly you can explain how you provide that solution, the more enlightened your client is going to be, and the more your product or service will make sense to them. Okay, so for a landscaper, let's just put this into an example. If people want a personal retreat where they can rest and find peace of mind, and your solution to that need is that you're going to help them by creating a beautiful landscaped yard where they feel like they're in their own personal resort, then you might say something like, okay, here are the 3 steps on how I'm going to make that happen. And what you're going to do is you're going to break that down into those 3 steps. So how do you provide a beautiful landscaped yard for them to feel peace of mind? Well, the first step might be that you're going to work with them to clarify their dream yard through scheduling a free consultation with them. And that means you're going to show up at their house, you're going to walk through the yard together, you're going to gather different ideas that they have for their landscape and talk about where they want to put that fire pit or the new flower beds, and you're going to talk through some potential designs. Okay, so that's the first step. And then maybe the second step is that you're going to help them keep that project within their budget. So you'll get an idea of how much they're able to invest in their new yard and help them stay within the parameters of what they can afford financially. And some companies do this. You might even provide a payment plan that you go over with them that will allow your customer to pay monthly, maybe using a financial program like Hearth to finance the project. So that could be step 2. And then the third step might be that you're going to complete their project by scheduling a week to come out. You're going to dig up all the old yard, all the old grass, and remove all that stuff. You're going to redesign it. You're going to put in all the new flower beds, the new trees. You're going to keep them in the loop throughout the process and make sure that the project is completed close to the deadline. And that's going to be the third step. So that's an example of what it looks like to break down the solution that you provide into those 3 steps. And when you go through these exercises, it's not just going to challenge you to clarify the offering you provide and how it works, but it's going to give your customers the clarity to understand what it is exactly that you do so that they can make a powerful buying decision. Because this is a very important fact to understand. Okay, out of everything that we talk about in this podcast, this is something I don't want you to miss. Why do we want to go through the entire process of clarifying what it is that we do? Because here's the thing. Customers will not purchase a product or service if they feel confused. Customers want to feel empowered and educated. They want to know that they're making the best buying decision for themselves. And if there's any chance that they feel confused about what it is that you do, or uncertain about what the process is going to look like, or a lack of clarity about clear expectations that are going to go into the project, they're going to be much less likely to purchase what you offer. So you want to break down this process as much as you can for your customers. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that as entrepreneurs, we have a general idea up here in our heads, up here in our brains, right, of how our product or service works. But what can be difficult is taking that idea from our head and turning it from kind of this abstract general concept into something detailed and easy for clients to understand, because we've got to remind ourselves our customers can't read our minds. They don't know our experience. They don't know our story. They don't know what went into creating this product and what we can do. And even though our product or service makes sense to us up here in our brains, it's not going to make sense right away to our customers. So it's really imperative that we take the time to take that idea that we have about our product or service up here in our head, and we want to take it out here into reality and break it down into easy to understand processes for our customers to grasp. Okay. Now, something else to keep in mind is that as you're clarifying your offering, is that you don't want to use vague branding language. Okay. If we're going to take an abstract thought and turn it into a clear idea, we want to avoid branding language. Here's why I say that. if you've ever seen the commercials on TV, like maybe I saw a perfume commercial the other day, and the person was on the beach next to the waves, and there's music, soft music playing in the background. And commercials like that, you watch like 95% of it, and the whole time you're trying to figure out, what is this commercial for? And then, finally, in the last 3 seconds after watching it for a full minute, you see the brand name of the perfume bottle show up, and then you're like, oh, that's what they're selling. Now, companies that are making billions of dollars a year and have millions of dollars to spend on advertising, they can afford to do branding like this, okay? They can focus on trying to get you to feel a certain way about the commercial without having to talk too much about the details of their company. But if you're a small business and you don't have tons of money for branding, your goal is to be as clear as possible about what you do within the limited time that you have with your customer, okay? So here's why that's important. Because your biggest marketing goal is to figure out how to reach as many of the right customers as possible and how to hold their attention and inspire them to buy your product. So you're going to have a short window of attention span to work with the people that you end up connecting with. And within that short window, you're going to need to clarify the most important details that your customer absolutely needs to know, because you may not get another shot with them. Okay, you've got a small window of opportunity. You need to be as clear as you can, be as concise as you can. And if you don't clarify your offering in a way that's easy for them to make sense of, and instead you focus on vague, abstract ideas, it's going to make it hard for your customer to understand what you do. And if they don't understand what you do, they're not going to purchase your product or service, okay? So when you learn to clarify your offering and help people to understand what it is that you do through clear, easy to understand language, you're going to be able to take that messaging and apply it to your marketing campaigns. So you're going to be able to take that copy and add it to your advertising campaigns. You can take that, craft it into your sales conversations that you're having with prospects. You can take that copy and put it on your website. You can, dice it up into chunks and spread it out over your social media platforms. Because taking the time to lay out the groundwork by clarifying what it is, about your product or service that you do, it's so crucial. And it's going to benefit all the other areas in your business when it comes to marketing and sales. And it really is a stepping stone to making the rest of your business successful. And the first powerful step to clarifying your offering is by answering that functionality question, which is, how does your product or service work really? Okay, so take some time this week to have a little creative fun by thinking this through. Write down the answers to that question. Think about, how does your product or service work really? Start with the customer's problem or maybe the questions or needs that they've had, and then work backward from the solution or answer that you provide them. And then make sure that you add that last statement. So you've got the solution down. Make sure you add this statement. And I do this in 3 steps. Okay? And break that solution down for them. Go through the 3 steps. Think about exactly how you're going to provide that solution for them. And the more you do that, the more it's going to make sense to your customer. That's exactly what you want to do for your customer, is make it clear, make it crystal clear for them to understand how you do what you do. And when you do that, you're going to help them understand whether you can help them solve their problem or meet their need, and make it really clear on how your product is going to help them. So I hope that information is helpful. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope it's insightful. I hope it helps you continue to clarify what it is that you do. I hope you walk away being challenged and encouraged, and hopefully a few exercises to help you clarify your offering. There's 5 total questions that I encourage people to ask in order to really help them clarify their offering completely. I'll share those in different podcast episodes. But there's 5 questions you can ask to really, really drill down and make it really clear what you do. So keep an eye on those other episodes in this podcast as we talk about, just different ways to clarify your offering. So I hope this helps, because the more you can communicate the power and the solution of what your product or service does, the better equipped you'll be to engage with your customers, and you'll actually motivate them to actually purchase what it is that you provide.